This is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the Gabbie Hanna controversy? This would include the article that came out in BuzzFeed in June of 2021. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So first I'll look at the background in this case. I'll move to the timeline of the controversy. Then I'll offer my analysis. Starting with the background, Gabbie Hanna was born in Newcastle, Pennsylvania on February 7, 1991. Newcastle is about 50 miles north of Pittsburgh. Gabbie graduated from the University of Pittsburgh with a degree in psychology and communications. She found a job selling products out of Sam's Club. She worked for a separate marketing company. She was pretty good at it, eventually becoming a top salesperson in the United States. She quit that marketing company after realizing that it was a pyramid scheme. In 2013, Gabbie started uploading videos to the now defunct platform Vine. In 2014, she started a YouTube channel. She went to work for BuzzFeed in Los Angeles, California, but eventually quit to focus on social media. Gabbie started to grow quite popular. She released a book in 2017. It contains what she claims is poetry. She started releasing music videos. She was in several television shows. In July of 2019, she bought a house in Studio City, Los Angeles, that cost $2.2 million. In 2020, she released yet another book of so-called poetry. At the time of making this video, her YouTube channel, The Gabbie Show, has 5.7 million subscribers, has been viewed over 1 billion times, and is viewed about 1.5 million times each month. She has a wide range of content on her channel, including personal topics and music videos. Here are a few of some of her more popular titles: Cutting My Own Hair Off, I'm Not Okay, I Dated a Pathological Liar, I Fell Asleep at the Wheel, I Got My Uber Driver Fired, I Drove Off a Cliff Again, I Wore Drugstore Clothes for a Week. I mentioned that her channel is viewed about 1.5 million times a month. It used to get between 20 and 40 million views a month, but Gabbie has not been uploading frequently lately. Just one video upload in the past 5 months. Another factor in the slowdown may be related to some of her behavior. This brings me to the timeline of the controversy. Gabbie has been no stranger to conflict. Let's take a look at a few of her more controversial behaviors. In 2017, she made a video about a former classmate of hers who died from overdosing on substances. In 2018, she came up with the idea of giving away makeup brushes to people who paid for the shipping. People complained that the quality of the brushes was poor. In 2019, she allegedly told a man named Jason Nash, who at the time was the boyfriend of Trisha Paytas, that Trisha Paytas had herpes. Trisha Paytas has denied that claim. Also in 2019, Gabbie remained friends with a man who allegedly committed a sexual assault against another social media influencer named Jessie Vasquez. She goes by the name Jessie Smiles. The charges were dropped after the man pleaded guilty to felony assault. Gabbie has apologized many times for the various scandals, but at least some of her audience appears to have had enough of her. Gabbie receives many negative comments on various social media platforms on a regular basis. She has also been in many conflicts with other content creators. For example, Gabbie targeted a content creator named Rachel Oates, referring to her as a loser, manipulative, and narcissistic. What was the big offense that Rachel Oates committed to draw this ire of Gabbie Hanna? Criticizing Gabbie's 2 books. I find this interesting because Rachel referred to what Gabbie had written as poetry, so already Rachel is willing to give Gabbie more credit than I would. I read both books as part of my research for this video. Gabbie again claims they contain poetry. They also have drawings in there. Art is kind of a funny thing. People can write anything and draw anything and call it art. It is subjective. The way I think about it is this. Could her writing and drawing be distinguished from a random elementary school student who wrote in the margins of a textbook? In my opinion, no. There's no way to distinguish her work from that work. I think Gabbie was trying to capture and communicate some of her pain, trauma, and struggles in her books, and I can appreciate that. So in that sense, she has the right to call it poetry. But to refer to it as good poetry does not seem to be honest. This does not mean that her story is invalid. It means the way she expresses herself is not particularly poetic. Her words don't convey some type of higher meaning. I think of poetry as condensed writing. Somebody takes a book chapter, for instance, and they put it into a poem, but it doesn't lose the feeling, the energy, the essence, or the meaning of the longer work. That's not what happened in Gabbie's books. The essence of her story is lost in her poor writing. I suppose, to be fair, it's worth noting that reading both of her books was a pretty painful experience, so I guess in that way, maybe Gabbie did achieve her goal of communicating pain. I'm not sure it is her pain, but it's pain either way. Moving to the next question, what about Gabbie taking responsibility for her different behaviors? Gabbie has admitted to being unkind in the past. She said that she went from being a drunk college kid to having a lot of followers and a lot of responsibility, implying that perhaps she earned too much fame and money too quickly and did not know how to handle it, a common problem in the world of social media influencers. Gabbie says she has both complex PTSD and ADHD. She believes the ADHD causes her to be impulsive and diminishes her short-term memory. Let's take a moment to discuss Gabbie's statements about ADHD. There's been a lot of talk about this. I'll cover 4 that she's made which have attracted some attention. Number 1, Gabbie indicated that a hallmark of ADHD is intense mood swings. A hallmark is a distinguishing feature. In order for a symptom to be a hallmark of a disorder, it would need to be a defining symptom, a pretty important symptom that really stands out, that seems to point to a limited number of disorders, including the one that's being referenced. Intense mood swings are not something that distinguishes ADHD from other disorders, but emotional dysregulation is associated with ADHD. A more accurate statement would be that people with ADHD are more likely to have mood swings than people without ADHD. So many disorders have many symptoms and associated characteristics. We have to be careful about saying something is primarily associated with a disorder or a hallmark of a disorder when it could just be another symptom, potentially even a symptom that's not part of the symptom criteria, not part of the official definition of the disorder. Number 2, Gabbie indicated that ADHD is easily confused with bipolar disorder. This is true. It's also confused with cyclothymic disorder, personality disorders, oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder. There are a number of differential diagnoses. ADHD can be confusing diagnostically. Number 3, Gabbie indicated that ADHD progresses exponentially as a person gets older. This is not true. For some people, the disorder does get worse, but for most, it does not. When it does get worse, it may get somewhat worse. Nothing that would even approach exponential growth. I'm not convinced there are any mental disorders which could be accurately characterized as becoming exponentially worse as someone ages. Number 4, Gabbie has made it seem like some of her more controversial behavior could be attributed to impulsivity, which of course is a symptom of ADHD. Is this possible? Yes. I don't know if Gabbie has ADHD or not. She says that she does. But either way, impulsivity could explain a lot. A number of her social media posts don't appear to be the result of sufficient forethought. Now moving to the role that cancel culture may play with Gabbie Hanna. Gabbie has noted that many people attack her new projects immediately. Some of them make fun of her for being unstable, appearing to criticize her mental health status. They say that she is playing the victim, but Gabbie maintains she is actually the victim, a victim of cancel culture bullies. She believes that she has been held to a higher standard because she is a woman. For example, Jake Paul, Jeffree Star, and David Dobrik have been involved in a number of controversies, yet continue to make money. Gabbie has implied that her aggressive responses come from a mentality of giving up. She should do whatever she feels like because no one's going to change their mind about her. Perhaps she has become the villain because that's the only thing she's allowed to be, the only way people will ever see her. She admits that she uses drama for her own purposes. The firestorm that she creates is leveraged to her financial advantage. I guess her mentality is that she might as well make the best out of her circumstances. In addition to being a target for bullies, it can also be that Gabbie produces work which is not valuable. Maybe her decrease in popularity has to do with the low quality of her new projects. Something else here occurs to me. Not every social media celebrity can pivot to being a villain, and for that matter, not every villain can return to being a hero. Gabbie's fame was based on people liking her personality, enjoying stories of her exploits, connecting with her as a person. I'm wondering if her antagonistic approach did not simply alienate those people. What happens to an internet personality when their personality is no longer appreciated? Some people have made kind of a big deal about Gabbie making claims about mental health issues, like saying that she has various disorders. There are two sides to this. Some people say mental health issues are no excuse. Others say that this absolves Gabbie of bad behavior. I think the truth is that mental health issues could explain the behavior, as I mentioned, but the question becomes, once that realization is made, when somebody realizes they may have mental health symptoms, what does the person do moving forward? Having mental health symptoms doesn't give somebody an excuse to do whatever they want. Rather, it simply explains some behavior. It's up to the person to work with mental health clinicians to find a way to address the symptoms in a pro-social and productive manner. I certainly hope that Gabbie Hanna is able to do that. Moving to my final thoughts. Gabbie has been bullied, but she's also been a bully. Both sides keep the dispute alive. Perhaps Gabbie's impulsivity is a challenge for her, but as I mentioned in other videos, many content creators have impulsivity issues. Sometimes I wonder if it's not a requirement for certain types of entertainment, like the prank channels. These creators have the resources to hire somebody to review their posts. It doesn't change the level of impulsivity, but it would restrict the damage the impulsivity could inflict. Those are my thoughts on the Gabbie Hanna controversy. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be poetic. Thanks for watching.